Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Did Travis Scott delete a tweet after that deadly Astroworld tragedy? If so, could he at least face an evidence tampering charge? But first, suddenly the case against Kyle Rittenhouse seems to have major, and I don't say this lightly, major problems. It feels like the prosecution is on the ropes as they rest their case today against the now 18-year-old accused of shooting 3 people, 2 fatally, in Wisconsin during the 2020 unrest after the killing of George Floyd. The case hinges on whether Rittenhouse acted in self-defense, whether he reasonably believed that the force was necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm. Rittenhouse says he was there that night to protect businesses from the rioting. Now, there were 2 shooting locations at issue: the killing of Joseph Rosenbaum outside a parking lot in downtown Kenosha, and then just down the street, the fatal shooting of Anthony Huber and the shooting of Gage Grosskreutz, who would survive. Grosskreutz took the stand yesterday, and stunningly, the defense was able to use his testimony to their advantage. He admitted he wasn't shot until he pointed his weapon and that he failed to even tell police he had a firearm.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct.
Did you ever tell the police in here on this statement that you actually had a firearm in your hand and pointed it at the defendant?
No, I did not.
You never told them you had a gun at all in terms of as you had an interaction with Mr. Rittenhouse. True?
That is correct.
Wow. The prosecution tried to show that Grosskreutz thought he was confronting an active shooter and that when he was shot, that his hands were up.
I had heard a series of gunshots, what I determined to be a few blocks south of where I was. I'd seen a number of people running northbound in the same direction as the defendant. I'd started hearing people saying, he just shot that guy, he just shot somebody. I thought that the defendant was an active shooter.
So you had just seen Mr. Huber get shot?
Correct.
And so what was going on in your mind?
I was very close to the defendant, and I thought there was a high likelihood that I would be shot myself.
So after you raised your hands like this, you saw the defendant re-rack the weapon?
Correct.
Now, we also saw a new video in the courtroom today. It's on your screen now. This is that first scene I was referring to where Joseph Rosenbaum was fatally shot. This video has been edited to be slowed down by about 50%. Rittenhouse has been charged with 6 criminal counts, including first-degree reckless homicide and first-degree intentional homicide. You see it there on the left side of your screen. If convicted, he faces the possibility of life behind bars. Joining me now is criminal defense attorney Julius Kim, who is right there in the state of Wisconsin. He's a partner at Kim and Lavoie and former prosecutor and legal analyst for Law and Crime Network. Julie Rendelman, thanks to both of you for coming on the show. Let me start with you, Julius. Am I overstating how badly the case is going for prosecutors?
No, not at all. I felt the same way. Actually, I think that the state made some progress today with the video that they had played, because up until now, they hadn't shown very much at all. And everyone was kind of scratching their heads as to why it is they believed that Kyle Rittenhouse was not acting in self-defense at the time that he shot his firearm. Today, because of this drone video that surfaced, we're able to see in real time the actual shooting, at least of Rosenbaum. And that's helped us because now we can actually put together exactly what the actions were, whether Rosenbaum was actually lunging for the gun or whether he was falling forward. And so I think their case greatly strengthened today as a result of the witnesses they called and the video that they played today. The ME, or the medical examiner's testimony today, was also very, very good because it kind of gave the blow-by-blow, play-by-play as to how he thought these shots were fired.
Well, I'm going to get into the medical examiner later because I don't necessarily agree with you that it was all good for the prosecution. But Julie Rendelman, again, I want to separate this out because so people understand. Rosenbaum is the first one shot. Then these other people sort of run after Rittenhouse. He ends up shooting the other two guys at a different scene. So Rosenbaum is the more perilous one for Kyle Rittenhouse. But let's start with the second scene, which is the guy who's saying on the witness stand that he points a gun at Kyle Rittenhouse. I mean, what is more self-defense than that?
I don't think there is. I don't know if you saw that, the picture of the prosecutor with his hands over his face when this witness is testifying. Look, I don't think there's any question, that the defense was incredibly effective. But remember, they were effective in regards to this specific complainant in terms of self-defense. Yep. And I think based on what they said, I don't see how a jury would find him guilty of this specific crime. Now, with Rosenbaum, it's a little different. Remember, there doesn't seem to be any indication that there's any weapons in his hand at that time. And so the question becomes, is that reasonable? Did he believe there was deadly force coming towards him that caused him to be able to shoot 4 times at Rosenbaum, 1 in the back?
And I'm going to get to Rosenbaum in a minute because I'm going to play what the medical examiner said, which I don't know. I was stunned that I thought that how much this helped the defense. But before we get there, I want to play another exchange because this is the guy who was shot. And this is the second scene I was talking about. There he is right there. That's the guy who shot. And this is the guy who's on the stand, Grosskreutz. And let's play again. This is from the testimony from earlier this week.
Once your firearm is pointed at Mr. Rittenhouse, that's when he fires his gun. Yes?
No.
Sir, look, I don't want to... Does this look like right now your arm is being shot?
That looks like my bicep being vaporized, yes.
Okay. And it's being vaporized as you're pointing your gun directly at him? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so when you were standing 3 to 5 feet from him with your arms up in the air, he never fired, right?
Correct.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him, with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct.
So one guy hits him with a skateboard. Another guy points a gun at him. It just seems to me when we're talking about that second scene, Julius, I don't even see how the prosecution could get a conviction on those charges.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with Julie also. There's 2 different incidents, shooting scenes that we have in this particular case. With regard to the second one, I haven't heard much from the prosecution as to why they believe that Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't acting in self-defense in that case. And even if there are a few jurors that may have thought that he was not justified in shooting Mr. Huber and Grosskreutz at that point in time, I guarantee you there are some people on that jury that are thinking, I would have shot him if that was going on at that stage of the game. So I agree with you that with regard to the Huber and Grosskreutz shooting, the state's got a really tough case, and I haven't heard much from them. So I'm wondering if they've almost given up on that count. But you have to remember, he's charged with 2 counts of homicide. Really, in order to get the exposure that they want and need, they just need a conviction on one of them.
Right. But again, and I'm going to focus on the harder one in a moment. But just on this one, Julie, do you think prosecutors are finished with regard to, we're talking about someone being killed and another person being shot at, and it sounds like at least Julius and I are both saying we think that there's very little chance the prosecutors are going to be able to get a conviction on those charges.
And let's be clear, Dan, when we talk about this, no one's approving of the fact that Rittenhouse was out there. No one's happy that people died that day. The issue is whether or not the prosecution can prove this individual guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And remember, the burden in regards to self-defense is on the prosecution. And they've done absolutely nothing in any way to disprove self-defense when it came to these 2 specific individuals.
All right. So I want to take a break here. I'm going to ask you both to stick around because the harder question is the first shot. That's the one where there's the new video. But there is also testimony from the medical examiner, which stunned me, which suggests that there may be a serious self-defense claim there as well. And I'm going to ask both of you whether you think the defense is still going to have Kyle Rittenhouse testify. So don't go anywhere. Plus also ahead tonight.
Get on the ground!
A suspect shoots at officers, gets away, But then they find him hiding, still with gun in hand. The insane body cam video is coming up. Welcome back. We're continuing our coverage of the Kyle Rittenhouse case. We've been talking about the fact that things have not been going well for the prosecution. But you heard one of my guests there a moment ago talk about the fact that the medical examiner testified, forensic pathologist, and that some of that was helpful to the prosecution. But I will tell you that we heard something on the key shooting, the first one, that I think really could end up helping the defense.
There is no soot stippling here, correct?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay. The bulk of it starts between what would be the ring and commonly referred to as middle finger?
Yes.
Okay, so that means the barrel of the gun, if not touching, would have been like this.
It's in that location, that's correct.
So that hand was over the barrel of Mr. Rittenhouse's gun when his hand was shot.
That makes sense.
All right, so back with Julius Kim and Julie Rendelman. Julius, you were saying before the break that you thought that the medical examiner's testimony was very helpful to the prosecution. That, to me, fits exactly into the defense's theory here that while Rosenbaum wasn't armed, that doesn't become the ultimate legal question. It becomes whether Rittenhouse reasonably believed that he was in danger of serious bodily injury. And if the guy has his hand up and potentially over at the gun, trying to grab at it, again, it does seem to support the claim of self-defense.
No, I thought the ME's testimony today helped the state only because up until today, the state was basically on a sinking ship as to both homicide counts. But what the ME did today was he gave the state a theory from which to work with, because up until today, we had no idea what the state's theory was with regard to why Kyle Rittenhouse acted unreasonably in this particular situation. The ME, in addition to that clip that you just played, also kind of ordered the shots, and he indicated that the first shot was to the pelvis from about 4 feet away. And that suggests that maybe Rittenhouse or Rosenbaum wasn't lunging for the gun as initially indicated by Richie McGinnis, but that he lunged forward as a result of getting shot. And that could explain why his hand may have been close or on the barrel of the gun. So the ME basically gave the state a theory from which to work with.
Yeah, and Julie Rendelman, one of the big questions about this scene is the idea that Rosenbaum shot in the back. But again, the defense claiming that he's falling at Rittenhouse at the time he shot in the back, right? And what do you make of that? How strong do you think the case is now with regard to the Rosenbaum shooting?
So when your own medical examiner as a prosecutor testifies and gives the defense all the ammunition they need to be able to sum up, you're in big trouble. And so I think the medical examiner, I think, did much more for the defense than they did for the prosecution. The medical examiner agreed with the fact that he was potentially lunging for the gun. He agreed with the fact that his hand may have been actually on the gun or about to be on the gun when he was shot, which is exactly what self-defense would be. And so remember, we keep going back to this. The prosecutor has the burden, not the defense. And now you have your own medical examiner agreeing with the defense. So I think this is, again, a big problem even for Rosenbaum.
All right, so Julie, very quickly, if you're the defense attorney, do you now not call Kyle Rittenhouse to the witness stand?
We always hesitate to call someone as a defense attorney. At this moment, I'm going to turn to my client and say, the only thing you can do is make things worse. I would stop this case now because I believe we have beyond a reasonable doubt in regards to the defense getting an acquittal on everything except for the misdemeanor at this moment.
I got to run, but Julius, I saw you nodding. You agree?
I do, yeah. But, I agree with Julie, yes.
All right, sorry to cut you off.
Okay.
Julie Rendelman and Julius Kim, thank you both so much. Appreciate it. Coming up, Big Bird got the COVID vaccine. Senator Ted Cruz is roasting him. And of course, the politicized media is putting this critical issue front and center. The right horrified that the bird is advocating vaccines, and the left horrified that the right is horrified. We show you the bird-brained clips coming up next. Time now for our Mediaite Moments, where we check in on the day's bias, buzz, and bull in the world of cable news and beyond. A new front has emerged in the battle over vaccines: Sesame Street. Yes, over the weekend, the Twitter account for Big Bird promoted getting a vaccine for COVID, now that Pfizer has been approved for kids aged 5 to 11. And of course, in this political environment, this is outrageous and divisive.
Hey, Big Bird, how did it go?
Yeah, how are you feeling?
Oh, well, I feel okay. My wing hurts a little bit, but that's okay. You know, I was scared, but it did go by really quickly.
Big Bird, who is, and this is a spoiler alert, so have the kids leave the room, a human dressed up in a large bird suit, led some in the conservative media to call out this foul propaganda.
Big Bird causing a social media frenzy for encouraging kids to get the COVID vaccine.
Big Bird is literally encouraging children to take a vaccine scientifically that they do not need, but this is your source.
What part of the government actually got involved with a 6'7" fake yellow bird telling children to do exactly what the fake bird did? I mean, I think that's a fair question.
Are you angry yet? You're furious at this feathery fraud? No one played the outrage card better than Senator Ted Cruz, who quote tweeted Big Bird with a comment, quote, "government propaganda for your 5-year-old." Now he knows what he's doing. Cue the fury from the left-leaning media, who see an opportunity to rescue the now injured bird.
Ted Cruz has found the real coronavirus culprit. He's going after, take this, Big Bird.
Right? Ted Cruz goes after Big Bird. That's just stupid and obviously a dangerous message in terms of not using the vaccine.
Does Ted Cruz hate America or just efforts to help kids grow and keep them healthy?
Let's be clear here. Ted Cruz isn't actually against Big Bird. He's for getting media attention about Ted Cruz.
Go ahead, why Ted Cruz and other Republicans are trolling Big Bird.
And so now Ted Cruz is like, war on Big Bird. Okay.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz picking a fight with Sesame Street's Big Bird.
Aspiring podcaster Senator Ted Cruz, who heroically attacked the children's TV puppet as a quote.
But Republican Senator Ted Cruz is now attacking Big Bird, of all people.
It worked! Media outlets need to stop taking the bait, or maybe the worm. So let's leave the last word to Sesame Street, who put out this eerily prescient clip from nearly 40 years ago.
It's kind of funny. I mean, it's strange. I mean, there's all kinds of people, and they're all in a line, and they don't look like they're buying candy. And there's a sign that says, "Don't wait, vaccinate." Huh?
How far we have come. That is our wrap-up of the day's media bias, buzz, and bull. Coming up, the far right now trying to push fellow Republicans to punish 13 members of their own party for supporting and doing the unthinkable, compromising on behalf of the American people. We'll be talking to one of those 13 members coming up. Back, certain extremists in the Republican Party now want vengeance. We already knew that the likes of former President Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene were unhappy with the 13 House Republicans and 19 Republican senators who joined to pass the more than $1 trillion compromise infrastructure bill. The bill provides billions of dollars to improve the electrical grid, protect against cyber attacks, modernize public transit. Fringe leaders in the GOP, mad that they could lose political points if the legislation passed, began their collective temper tantrum not long after the bill cleared Congress. But now, some in the party, like Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz and others, are calling on House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy to punish members who worked with Democrats to pass the bill for all Americans.
The question for Leader McCarthy and the rest of our conference, really, is whether or not we will allow people to be designated as Republican leaders on major committees and subcommittees while they fight for the Joe Biden agenda and against the America First agenda.
Punchbowl News reported this morning that rank-and-file Republicans are now actually weighing whether to go through with this. And let's consider who they'd be removing from their committees. Among the House Republicans who voted for the infrastructure bill are New York's John Katko, the ranking member on the House Homeland Security Committee, and Alaska's Don Young, who holds the top Republican seat on the Natural Resources Committee. The 19 Republicans who voted for this bill when the Senate passed it in August include Mitch McConnell. So Are these Republicans really willing to dump their leader in the Senate, a man who's been called the apex predator of American politics, over this vote? If this happens, it means that these Republicans are saying that bipartisanship is traitorous. Not surprisingly, President Trump's former White House chief of staff and former North Carolina Congressman Mark Meadows endorsed the idea during an interview with Steve Bannon this morning.
Are you saying, sir, that you would strip these people of their committees?
Absolutely. Listen, they stripped Marjorie Taylor Greene of her committees for not even voting against the Republican Party. These people voted for Joe Biden for an infrastructure bill that will clear the way for more socialist spending that, quite frankly, gives Joe Biden a win.
A win, not for the American people and for the bridges that'll be repaired and built, et cetera, but for political gain. For the record, Taylor Greene was removed from her committees pushing anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and other similar rhetoric. It had nothing to do with voting for a bill that wasn't politically beneficial to the party and everything to do with making nutty and dangerous comments. Now, Greene, who called them traitors, has even tweeted the phone numbers for the 13 Republicans who backed the bill. What happened next was sadly predictable. Just listen to part of this voicemail that was left for Michigan Republican Congressman Fred Upton over the weekend.
Traitor. That's what you are. You're a piece of traitor. I hope you die. I hope everybody in your family dies. You piece of trash mother. Voted for dumbass.
Now, I've said this before. You can disagree with portions of the bill. It wasn't enough for many Democrats who voted for it. There were issues for Republicans who voted for it as well. But the idea that these 13 Republicans are traitors to their party merely for compromising and voting for this bill simply because most Democrats were in favor is so dangerous for the rest of us. This is what governing is about. You have to be willing to compromise to get anything done. It's also why I was so angry at AOC and the squad on the left who voted against it as well. If party purity is now a requirement, us moderates are in big trouble. Joining us now to discuss is one of the 13 Republicans who voted yes on the infrastructure bill, New York Congressman Tom Reed. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's great to be with you, Dan. Thank you very much.
All right. So realistically, do you see Republicans as a whole now taking action against your colleagues for voting for this bill?
You know, I really don't see that in the future, but obviously I think there's some folks in the party that are upset by our position. And I accept that, but I will tell you, I will always vote what I think is right for the district. When we worked on this bill for 10 years, and everyone agrees on both sides of the party aisles, Democrats and Republicans, that we need to fix infrastructure in America. And the only reason why you're voting against it because you don't want to give political win to the other side, you know, we're in a bad spot. We need to be better than that in Washington, D.C., and put the American people first and not fan the flames of division and also misrepresentations of the actual facts that are in this bill.
Well, I totally agree with you, and that is why I'm so concerned about the message it would send if the mainstream Republicans, and whatever that means, the majority of Republicans, decide that they're going to take action against the 13, including yourself, who voted for it. And I think I'm relieved. Can I be relieved in hearing you and saying you don't think it's going to happen?
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, I've been in Washington now for 11 years and coming to the end of my tenure in Congress because of my 12-year term limit that I put on myself. And I will tell you that there's a lot of members that have been around, have watched Washington, D.C. for the last years. And I will tell you, they understand if they go down this path, this is not going to be good for the Republican Party. This will not be good for our opportunities to lead in the future. And I think the better side of this equation will come on the side of reason and temper in regards to the reaction to what's being driven by some of our newer members, in my opinion, who are, you know, just trying to play to that hard right type of rhetoric.
I agree. And look, Representative Reed, I am concerned that people like you, and it's not just the 13, there are more than that in the Republicans in the Congress and in the Senate as well, are going to get bullied to a point, in particular in the House, where people like you, you're not running for re-election, are going to step down and get out, and we are going to lose the Republican moderates in the Congress. Is that a real concern?
It's obviously something I'm concerned about. That's why I've been fighting extremism on both sides of the aisle. There's extremism on the left side of the aisle, like you watch with AOC and the squad, for example. There's extremism on the right side of the aisle. That's why I think the silent majority of members are kind of where we are. We are at that idea of being a proud Republican, but at the end of the day, willing to put Americans first. And that should be our priority. And as we go forward, I think there's going to be more and more of the folks coming behind us that will take over that mantle for people like myself. And I assure you, Dan, I'm going to work 24/7 in my post-congressional career to make sure those types of members get elected.
Well, I hope so, because most of us in this country are somewhere near the middle. Most of us either identify as independents, either right-leaning or left-leaning, or are somewhat moderate. And I am just getting so nervous about what I am seeing, particularly in the Congress, with the extremes pushing agendas and forcing this purity on the party. But I have to say, it does seem to be right now worse on the Republican side, only because I see something like AOC and the squad, and they're not getting punished for voting against it. And yet on the Republican side, they're threatening punishment, et cetera. And I'm not trying to do who's worse here, because I'm upset by both sides. But it really scares me that the power that these extremes seem to have.
Yeah, it's a legitimate concern. And obviously that's why I've stood up for years now, fighting that extremism on both sides of the equation. And we'll continue that fight. But I will assure you that there are more members that are of the silent majority that recognize I'm a proud Republican. Our nation is still a center-right nation, in my humble opinion. And what you have to do is do the hard work of governing. Voting yes is the harder leadership position to take than voting no. I learned that early on in my career. And so I just encourage my colleagues that voted with us and those that wanted to vote with us, but because of the political win, didn't actually vote yes on the bill, even though they wanted to. I can tell you, just stand up, do the right thing, and the politics will take care of itself.
Representative Reed, I feel better after talking to you. I hope you're right. You've allowed me to take a deep breath and not freak out as much. So, Representative Tom Reed, thank you.
Fights ahead.
Thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate it. Time for our police cam segment showing the dangers that law enforcement face across the country. Officer Joseph Ledyard pulled over a Toyota SUV with 3 robbery suspects in Jacksonville, Florida. The vehicle had been spotted in an armed robbery 20 minutes earlier.
Now, get on the ground. Shots fired. Placina line. Shots fired. Shots fired. Placina and Canal is going northbound on Canal.
Now, the Sheriff's Department has created video which shows how the driver, Luis Rodriguez, opened fire exactly 11 seconds after Officer Ledyard put his car in park as a passenger was trying to surrender. Rodriguez fired more than a dozen rounds in 3 seconds. Officer Ledyard's patrol car was hit by at least 5 bullets. Somehow, unfortunately, he was not injured. Police followed the Toyota and found Rodriguez hiding.
If you reach that gun, you're getting shot. You understand me?
Rodriguez was in a dumpster and threw the gun away before giving himself up. Police say the same type of weapon was used in 8 armed robberies at businesses in the area, including 2 that same day. Joining me once again is Sean Stix-Larkin, retired Tulsa police lieutenant. Sean, thanks for coming. As always, these officers knew that these were violent suspects. So what do these officers have to keep in mind when they pull over that vehicle?
One thing I want to point out, Dan, the officer that stopped him, he was actually on his way to work. And so kudos to him for paying attention to the radio and hearing that type of call go out. So he actually wasn't even on duty yet when he spotted the robbery suspects. The Toyota RAV4 that these guys were in is a very common car. There were over 400,000 of them sold in 2020 alone. So there's a ton of these things out on the road when they have a description of a robbery vehicle. Ideally, when you do a high-risk car stop or a felony car stop, you want to have at least the number of police officers with you as to how many suspects are in the car. In this instance, he was by himself when he stopped the car. What he did well was he angled his police car in a position that he was able to be partially behind the engine block. He didn't approach the car. He had his firearm out and ready because these were suspected robbery suspects. Those things that he did by himself out there at least saved him from getting shot, if not killed.
All right, so let's play that again because I think you make a really interesting point there. Suspect fired more than a dozen shots. Let's just hear that portion again.
Now, get on the ground. Shots fired. Placina and line. Shots fired. Shots fired. Placina and Canal is going northbound on Canal.
Sean,
Dan,
we
you
saw
can see
him come
right there,
around
he's
the police car. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sorry. Initially he is out to the left of his police car, but once he identifies the threat, the driver there with the firearm and the shots start, he puts himself at the rear of his police car. So he puts that entire, body of his own car, the engine block, the entire, interior portion of the car for ballistic cover. And then he repositions himself to a place where he too can fire back at the suspect.
All right, so the suspect takes off. Police track him to a dumpster. What did officers do to get him to surrender without firing another shot?
Listen, this is something I want to point out that we see, I think, time and time again for those of us in law enforcement. You have a suspect, and I'm going to call him a coward here. He tries to take advantage of the officer by himself and shoot at him. But then when he's cornered there in the trash can, he wants to give up, and not go through the battle again. So I'm assuming they use a dog or something. You see it there in the video that probably tracked him to the garbage can. Rather than open it themselves, they would have made voice commands. Hey, if you're inside there, we're out here. We've got you surrounded. Throw the gun out, that type of deal. It's exactly what he did. And he was taken into custody to now face charges. This guy, I think, was suspected of 6 armed robberies, 2 of them that day.
Yeah, and we see there both the handgun that he threw out, and we also did see a canine on that scene. It is so lucky that, I shouldn't say lucky because you also pointed out that it was also some skill involved, obviously, in where he took position, that this officer did not get hit, considering how many shots were fired there. Sean Larkin.
Yeah, absolutely. And
thank
Dan,
you. Real quick. Yep. Real quick.
So, just real quick, I want to point out, this officer at the time had 5 years on. This was his second shooting in 3 years. And, you've talked about it before. There's guys that go a 25, 30-year career and never get in one. This is 2 and 3 years for this guy.
Sean Larkin, appreciate it. Good to see you. That does it for us tonight. NewsNation Prime starts right now. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.